והגדלנו בתודה על אל השם אלוקים והגדלנו בתודה י' וו' השם אלוקינו השם אחד י' וו' השם אלוקינו השם אחד השם מלך השם מלך השם ימלוך לעולם ועד 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 הלל השם אלוקים והגדלנו בתודה הלל השם אלוקים.
Okay, well, welcome to today's JDAM session, Ready, Willing, and Able, Israel's Disabled Community. My name is Harriet Schleifer, and I'm the president of AJC, American Jewish Committee. I'm so pleased to be here with you today. I have two sons, Adam, 39, and David, 34. David was born with two rare genes that he inherited from his parents, which resulted in significant cognitive and speech difficulties, but also required 5 corrective orthopedic surgical operations. I am a parent, a devoted parent to someone with disabilities, but I also was a practicing attorney in the field of special education law. And so my love is advocacy, and very much so people who have disabilities. There's a well-known Jewish story about a young man named Meir who had a disability that prevented him from speaking. Meir's family were shepherds, and every morning Meir used to call his flock from the fields using a flute. Over time, he learned to create beautiful music with the flute, and the flock would know automatically to head home at the end of each day once he finished playing. One year, the Baal Shem Tov, a famous rabbi and founder of Hasidic Judaism, decided to visit Meir's synagogue on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish year. Meir was so excited to meet the rabbi, but he was sad that his disability did not allow him to chant the prayers aloud with the rest of the congregation. At the very end of services, Meir had an idea. He would add his own prayer by using his flute. Out came the most beautiful melody anybody in the shul had ever heard. The Baal Shem Tov turned around from the pulpit and came rushing toward Meir. Frightened that he had done something wrong or disturbing the great rabbi's praying, Meir quickly pocketed the flute and tried to hide behind his family. The Baal Shem Tov reached out his hand toward Meir, weeping and saying, "Thank you. All Yom Kippur, I have been wondering whether our prayers would be answered. We all said the words, but something was lacking. Then I heard your flute and understood that this community now prayed as one. Your flute was the missing ingredient to open the gates of heaven to our prayers." We live in a world today that thankfully acknowledges what the Baal Shem Tov realized hundreds of years ago, that every person has something to offer the world. Once we understand that truth and embrace it, then all the good we collectively put out into the world increases exponentially. This is the basis of what we call inclusion. It's not about making space for someone who has different needs than most others. It's about recognizing that what each one of us contributes to our collective is vital and worthwhile. It's about basic human dignity, the ability to live one's life to the fullest, no matter what disabilities one may have. And believe me, we all have them. Our challenge is to find those unique strengths that each person possesses, the tune that each person contributes to our collective symphony. And to meet that challenge, we need to look at the individual and not the disability. That is called the person-centered support approach. And this is where the Jewish state excels. Today, we're going to explore how Israel's civil society is moving the needle on empowering persons with disabilities to live their best lives. We'll hear from one of Israel's most inspiring trailblazers, Miss Odilia Fitoussi, the first Israeli representative to the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And we'll learn from 3 leading organizations in the field about initiatives that create tools for increased independence and dignity, about leadership forums galvanizing change makers from within disabled cohort communities, and about forward-thinking policy that will ensure tomorrow's technologies meets all citizens. It is my pleasure to introduce Yoav Kraim, co-director of the Social Change Unit, and Amir Lerner, executive director at Beit Izzy Shapiro, to speak about Beit Izzy's National Center for Effective Leadership for People with Disabilities. This initiative helps grow Israel's human capital by giving persons with disabilities the skills they need to take control of their own destinies and to lead in advocacy for their communities. Before Yoav and Amir get started, I want to invite you to place any questions you may have into the chat box. You can find that icon at the bottom of your screen, right in the middle. We'll be collecting your questions throughout the session and address as many as we can toward the end. Yoav and Amir, please take it away.
I really thank you for letting me be here today. It's a very great honor. My name is Yoav Kraim, and I'm a co-director of the Social Change Unit in Beit Izzy Shapira. Beit Izzy Shapira is one of the most important organizations in Israel in terms of changing the reality and make sure that every person with disability will have quality and equal life. Nothing about us without us is the most powerful demand of people with disabilities all over the world. We at Beit Izzy Shapira established the Leadership Center in order to make this demand a reality. We have in the Leadership Center 7 groups with various disabilities, various backgrounds of people, some of them coping with intersections like people with LGBTQ and disability, and women with disability, and some of them are more oppressed than others, like people who are using augmentative alternative communication. We believe that everybody should have a voice and everybody should take part in creating his own life. In order to do so, we work as a group with common ground and help people to raise their capability as individual and work together as a group to change policy, to affect policy, to affect society, and to be very meaningful policy making. We have more than 100 activists in our leadership center, and it's only the beginning. We believe that if we continue work like that, we will have more and more people from more and more groups in the Israeli society that active in order to change the reality of people with disabilities in Israel. Our group of self-advocacy for people with intellectual disability actually changed the law of guardianship in Israel. According Article 12 to the CRPD. They done it by learning the law, they were more intelligent than the professional who also took part in that change. I believe that anybody can take part of a change. It's only a matter of how we facilitated the situation and make the process accessible to them. We believe that human rights for people with disability would be a milestone for human rights for all people. We contribute to make our world a better place. I talk a lot about the activists, but actually they need to talk for themselves. So I'm very honored to introduce you to them and let them speak their minds.
מרכז המנהיגות בבית איזי שפירא הוא מרכז המאגד קבוצות פעולה של אנשים עם מוגבלות בעיקר, אבל לא רק. הקבוצות פועלות לקידומם של אנשים עם מוגבלות בחברה הישראלית ולשילובם.
אנחנו לא יכולים רק לשבת ולקטר, אנחנו צריכים גם לעשות משהו למעננו. וזה מרכז המנהיגות בהחלט מעודד אותנו לעשות.
יש לי מוגבלות פיזית מורכבת, שבעיקרה נפגעה יכולת הדיבור ואני משתמש בתקשורת תומכת חינוכית.
אני מאובחן עם הפרעת אישיות, דיכאון וחרדה.
אני פעיל זכויות אדם לאנשים עם מוגבלות ומרצה להעלאת המודעות. אני גאה להיות חלק מקבוצת המנהיגות למשתמשי תקשורת תומכת בחלופית.
الإشي اللي بيهمنا هو مصلحة أولادنا، مش بس ابني أنا مهمة وابن غيري وابن هديك وابن جيراننا وابن هيك، فكل ولد من حقه إنه هو يوصل لحقوقه، وهذا الإشي اللي بتمناه عن جد من المجموعة، إنها أول إشي تكبر بطريقة اللي تبقى أكثر في دعم إلها من مؤسسات برا.
מרכז מנהיגות בשבילי זאת העצמה.
כשאני מגיע ביחד עם החברים שלי של פורום המוגבלות, זה בהחלט מעצים את הקול שלי, וזה בהחלט מבטיח את זה שקובעי מדיניות, שאנשים שנמצאים בעמדות המתאימות יקשיבו לקול שלי ויקדמו את האינטרסים שלי ושל חבריי.
שאנשים אחרים עם מוגבלות רואים אותנו ואומרים, אם אלה אנשים עם מוגבלות שעושים ויכולים, גם אנחנו יכולים.
As a pioneer in the field of disabilities, Beit Izi Shapiro is proud to have an impact on society in Israel and globally with our work with the UN, and I'm sure that with Odelia now at the seat speaking after me, our impact will be even larger. The leadership model you just witnessed and saw strengthens our ability to empower and to engage people with disabilities in order for them to be the leaders that they must be. We want people with disabilities to be those who are setting the agenda. We want them to make the action plan, and we want them to be the people who are executing it. Nothing about us without us is something we want to practice every day, not just speak about it. And Beit Izi Shapiro will always be around in order to facilitate, to provide the tools and to provide the resources that they need in order to achieve their goals. And looking forward, we want to see more and more people with disabilities at junctions where decisions are taken, sitting on boards of organizations and of nonprofits. And 2 to 3 years down the road, when there are municipal elections in Israel, we want to see people from the leadership center and outside of it serving on municipality governing boards in order to really create the change that they want to make. Thank you all for listening and coming here to hear.
That was exceptionally inspiring, Yoav and Amir, and we thank you so much for leading this effort at Beit Izi Center for Effective Leadership. May your words reach God's ears. To look at the individual and the way that he or she can positively chart their own lives, the lives of those in the disabled cohort communities, and the lives of Israelis in general, is generating a wave of good that splashes way beyond Israel's borders. The ability to control one's own destiny and the skills one needs to self-abdicate have brought Odilia Fitoussi to the world stage as she serves on the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Out of a pool of candidates put forth by 27 different countries, Odilia was handpicked to represent Israel on this prestigious UN Committee of 9. It is my honor to introduce Odilia Fitoussi.
Thank you, Harriet. So my name is Odilia Fitoussi. I'm 42 years old. I live with a muscle disease called SMA type 2. I always like to mention my age because when I was born, nobody believed that I would reach to that age. And in fact, I should finish my career at 2 years old. I am a member of the expert committee in the UN, the CRPD. It's a committee of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. It's really important for me to emphasize that I'm not here on behalf of the committee, but it's really important part of who I am now. I'm the co-director of Modern 30 organization, and not so long ago, I was joining to the Global Advisory Committee of People with Disability of JDC, Israel Unlimited. And like every good story, also my story started in the beginning by my parents. My parents were really wonderful parents, and they really focus about two things. They focus about knowledge and choice. The fact that knowledge is a strength, that I need to dig and search for knowledge about my situation and know all the details about my disease, and then I can face it face to face and manage with it. And also about choosing, about choices, about to choose what I want in my life, to be part of the conversation. But when I was young, and still today, unfortunately, the perception about persons with disability is that there are people that are less, people that are missing something, people that are lacking something, and they always ask me to overcome the disability. So when I was a child, I tried to be equal to anybody else. I tried to be smarter, and I tried to be funny, to be always equal to other person. And after that, I decided to give a lot of lectures since I was 17 years old. And I started to study and work in the disciplines that I choose, because it was important for me that I would choose the one that it's important for me. And I chose to be a therapist, art therapist. And it was not so easy to be accepted as an art therapist. And when I was studying that, I learned about a Jung that talk about the wounded healer. And I realized that there is another essence that I bring to the therapeutic space and to life as a whole. And I bring another thing to my patient, and that thing, it's related to my identity as a person with disability. And I also wrote about it in my thesis. And from now on, the moving to the field of rights of persons with disability was quite easy, because I understood that my disability is something that I can be proud of. I don't need to hide it. I don't need to be successful like everybody else. I just need to be proud of who I am and the qualities that I have as a person with disability. Exactly like the affirmation model talk about it, about focusing on my success, but also let me to fail and not to succeed, to be a human being. So on this time, I started to focus in promoting the convention and legalization, and also really focusing about the language that talk about rights, our rights as a human being, and nobody need to put a question mark beside our rights. And this is all the way that I do all my life. I talk about adjustment and not only about facilitation, and about the obligation of the state to including us. And on that, they're really gaining us by making places accessible, or by accepting us to work, or raising up a family, to see us, persons with disability, as part of human diversity. When we read the convention, we really change our point of view on persons with disability from pity and charity to rights. We're speaking about a language that creates a new reality. And really my goal on the world in the UN is that language will reach to all the people that need it, especially people that have been put in the institution or are neglected, to reach to children with and without disability, as much as they're doing in the Merchavim institution, in the project of including teachers with disability at school. And also it's mean to criticize the state that I love so much, Israel, with protests and writing reports and writing articles, because I truly believe that the situation in Israel and around the world can be improved and promoted, and the profit would be of all of ours. So if we go back in the end to my parents, they really taught me that everything is considered to knowledge and the right to choose and to act and to improve yourself like as anybody else in which field you choose to exercise your natural rights.
That was very inspiring, Odelia, and we're so proud to have you represent Israel on this important international committee. Odelia mentioned that she recently joined JDC's Global Advisory Committee on People with Disabilities. JDC Israel Unlimited is doing amazing work to increase individual independence, self-confidence, and ability to play an active and fulfilling role in society. One of their ways that they do this is through initiatives like the Smart Homes program, which helps people with disabilities find technological solutions to meet their everyday needs and improve their quality of life. Here to tell you a bit about Smartphones Initiative is Efrat Stern, Director of Israel Unlimited, JDC Israel. Efrat, the stage is yours, please.
Hello, thank you, Harriet. My name is Efrat Stern, and I'm the Director of Israel Unlimited, a division of JDC in Israel that works toward promoting independent living for people with disabilities in Israel, so that they have equal opportunities to be a part of the community and the society and have a better quality of life. Before I begin, let's start with the poll to see what we know about people with disabilities and their use of technology. Good, so you can see the answers, and from the answers, we can learn that people with disabilities are the biggest minority living among us, over 1 billion in the world, and in Israel, 20% of the population, and only 1 out of 10, again, 1 out of 10 use technology, which as we know today is the gateway to being a part of society and feeling less lonely. And this brings me to the Smart Home program of Israel Unlimited. Almost a year into the corona pandemic, with most of us isolated in our homes for days or months, we can all appreciate how technology has become an integral part of our lives. We use tech to maintain social connection with our friends and family. We use digital platforms to hold community gathering, work meetings, school, doctor appointments. So if we're all so dependent on technology, shouldn't people with disabilities have access to individualized tech solutions? Imagine being unable to open a door, turn on the light, call for help from your own home, That's when technology moves from being luxury to a necessity. By reducing reliance on care, tech solutions increase independence. They increase security and safety, improve social lives, and give caregivers and family members greater peace of mind. I'd like to introduce you to Moshe, a man with a severe brain injury. He is using MemoApp, one of the technology solutions provided by smart home programs that enables family members and professional caregivers to provide remote assistance to people who have cognitive decline. Let's watch.
קם בבוקר, לא יודע איזה יום, לא יודע איזה תאריך, לא יודע מה אני עושה היום. לא לזכור דברים, לא לזכור פרטים, לא לזכור אנשים, לא לזכור שמות. עזוב את הסביבה, לא מכיר את עצמי, לא יודע מי אני, מה אני. וזה כל בוקר ככה חוזר על עצמו. לפני שנה התחילו לי כאבי ראש, שהתגברו. אני זוכר שצרחתי שם, נפלתי, ומאז לא זוכר, עד שקמתי אחרי הניתוח. אני מתעורר ואני לא מבין איפה אני נמצא. נולדתי מחדש. לכאורה בן אדם שלם, קם, אבל הוא יוצא מהחדר שלו והוא לא יודע לאן הוא יוצא. והוא לא יודע לאן הוא צריך לחזור. מסתבר שבלי זיכרון אפשר לעשות כלום. הכל היה נופל על סוזי. הייתי מתקשר אליה עשרות פעמים ביום. מה יש לנו היום? מה עושים היום? מה אני צריך לעשות? עכשיו היא עונה לי על משהו, ואחרי 2 דקות אני לא זוכר מה שאלתי אותה, ואני שואל בלופים. אבל כבר שאלת את זה, אבל כבר דיברנו על זה. אז אני מתעצבן, אבל אני לא זוכר, אני שואל אותך שוב. אז זה היה גורם למתח. מריבות, ויכוחים, אנטי מאוד גדול שפשוט מרחיק. והוא ניסה פתקים, והוא ניסה תזכורות בנייד, והוא ניסה והישענות עלינו, ותלות בנו, וכלום לא הלך. זה לא עזר לו, הוא לא זכר. ואז מגיע הממואפ, שזה נקודת אור ענקית. אחד הפתרונות שהעבירו לבית הזה הרבה שקט ושלווה. התלות בנו, בבני הבית, יורדת. הממואפ החזיר לי את השליטה. את השליטה של הסדר יום, של המעורבות, יום, תאריך, שעה, משימות. הכל דינמי ומשתנה, ואני מזינה משימה ומוחקת משימה, ומעלה תמונה ומוחקת שירים. עכשיו הייתה לי התראה קולית, זה אשתי השנייה קוראת לי, ואני יודע שצריך לקרות משהו, או לעשות משהו. ואז אני הולך לממואפ. הוא מאוד מנותק רגשית, ואנחנו מאוד מנסים לחבר אותו. חגגנו לרונן יום הולדת כאן בגינה בחוץ, והוא היה מאושר, והרמנו אותו, ושרנו לו. זה נתן לי עכשיו לטעום טעימה קטנה מהרגע המאושר הזה. זה בדיוק הרגע שהרמנו אותו, אני מצליח לראות את האושר שלו בפנים. אז זה עוד תפעול של המוח. הוא יכול לשתוק ולא לומר כלום, ויכול להגיע אותו רגע שנוטע בנו את התקווה, להמשך, לעתיד, שהוא נזכר. אני לא מסוגל לחשוב עכשיו מה היינו עושים בלי הממואפ. אני לא יודע אם המסר שאני מעביר לכם הוא מספיק כדי להמחיש לכם עד כמה זה חשוב הדבר הזה. זה עוזר לו מאוד. זה מציל אותו. Okay, so the smart home pilot started several months ago in a multi-sectoral partnership between the government Israel, business sector, Advisor, a digital platform named Advisor, and the nonprofit sector. We're working with Beth Easy Shapira to test out a new model of service provision. It assists people like Moshe to acquire the necessary smart devices to help navigate their lives independently. A smart home advisor teaches how to use technology and assist in adapting it to meet individual needs. These simple interventions have relatively minimal cost and go a long way in ensuring real solutions to the everyday needs of people with disabilities. To ensure the highest quality service and up-to-date technology, we work, as I said, with Advisor, an online platform used to find personalized recommendations for tech solutions for people with disabilities that goes along with this personal smart home advisor.
advisor. For example, we helped a client with difficulty in vision and additional physical symptoms to find the solutions for reading. Once he realized there are tech solutions that can help him overcome his disabilities, he asked for others. We were able to find personalized solutions for him in just a number of hours, which enabled him to feel independence and empowered him. Real success of the program will be that the government will make a systematic change in the procurement of tech solutions for people with disabilities. Ensuring social participation for people with disabilities is not only a matter of basic human justice, but also an essential condition for socioeconomic development and advancement. It represents an investment in the future of every single member of society as a whole. This is our primary goal at JDC Israel Unlimited. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Efrat. The technologies you mentioned are incredibly empowering, yet such simple solutions with many wider applications. For example, I can see the need for Memo app among the elderly of our community who could benefit from its reminders should they experience cognitive decline. Our next and final trailblazing organization, Access Israel, has been leading the accessibility revolution in Israel for over 2 decades. Impressive work that has earned them the status of special advisor to the UN. Access Israel has come up with an innovative idea to ensure future technology is accessible to all Israelis. I am very pleased to introduce Michal Moked Rimon, CEO of Access Israel, to tell us about Making the Future Accessible initiative. Michal, please take the stage.
Thank you very much. I'll just share a presentation here. Can you see it? Perfect. Okay, first of all, I would like to say that I'm honored to share the panel with such amazing colleagues. I feel optimistic knowing we are in this together. Now, imagine you cannot use your smartphone. Everyone else is using it, but you can't. And every time you need to do something that requires your phone to call your kids, send an email, order pizza or an Uber, you need someone else to help you to do it on your behalf. What would your life look like? This is what people with disabilities feel like every single day. In many cases, the most simple and trivial actions, which we take for granted, like going shopping, participating in a Zoom event, going to the doctor, are mission impossible for people with disabilities. People with disabilities who are 15% of the global population and an additional 10% who are the elderly, as Harriet mentioned, potentially require or will require accessibility as the years go by. I want to stress the numbers here. In the United States alone, 61 million people with disabilities and over 50 million elderly over the age of 65. This is the largest minority. It's our mothers, it's our fathers, it's our friends, maybe us. And don't we all want to be included? Globally, well, you get the picture. One of the major problems is that accessibility has always been fixed retroactively, having to widen entrances and adding elevators and ramps, changing the company's website so blind people can use it also, and the list goes on. But it's always the same paradigm. It's always retroactive, and in many cases, a makeshift solution. Why is a more accessible future better for all of us? Did you know that technologies that were originally developed for the use of people with disabilities are serving everyone? SMS, for example, was developed for the deaf people and the hearing disabilities. Speech to text was originally developed for blind disabilities, and today it is used everywhere, including Alexa, Siri, and so forth. These accessible technological solutions are important, but unfortunately, very sporadic. So we are always playing catch up with many people suffering and are left behind until a solution is available. Now, as we heard from the amazing speakers before me, every day new technologies are entering our lives in a faster pace than ever before. And our future will be fully based on emerging technologies. Let's imagine this future for a second. We live in a smart home, talking to Alexa, driving an autonomic car or taxi. All of our connections to the municipality services are digital. We shop with robot assistants, and we talk to robots instead of people at the call center services, and so on. If we won't make sure those technologies are accessible by design from day one, then we will be leaving behind the largest minority in the world and try fixing these technologies, which means extra cost, extra time, and not to mention the social negative impact that will be inevitable. To avoid this disastrous scenario, Access Israel is launching a new strategic, innovative project called Accessible Future. The goal of this project is to make sure that all future technologies in all areas of life will be designed as accessible, enabling usability to all people with disabilities. This initiative will begin by leveraging on the international ecosystem which Access Israel is leading. By the way, it includes today more than 80 countries from all over the world. Evaluating and defining the accessibility tech challenges for all disabilities in fields such as education, health services, transportation, commerce, and culture. Motivating technology companies, entrepreneurs, and investors to develop tech accessible solutions. Implementing the solutions in Israel as a pilot case, making Israel fully tech accessible, and also exporting these technologies globally. Now, we are aware that this is a huge endeavor. And speaking to you guys, many times we are sitting in audiences of conferences with speakers presenting plans like this one, and we don't really feel that we have the power to help or that we can make a difference. I must stress to each and every one of you, this is a team effort. We have to join hands, and you have the power. When a first grade student goes through our educational programs and comes home and tells his mother or father, don't park in the disabled parking spot, he is making an impact, and his action, small as it may be, will have a ripple effect. Imagine the effect your actions, in combination with all of us, will have if you help turn one technology into an accessible one, causing a direct improvement of the quality of life for people with disabilities around the world. Now, one might ask, why Israel if the effect is so global? We have already seen throughout the years, and even recently with COVID-19 virus and the Pfizer vaccination, that Israel has the advantage of being a small country with a DNA of entrepreneurship. Even if the invention is made in the USA, the execution in Israel can give it an added value. For example, within less than a month and a half, I think 40% or something like that of Israel's population, as we speak, has been vaccinated for COVID-19. One might ask, why Access Israel? Well, Access Israel was established 21 years ago in a non-accessible Israel. Our organization has led the accessibility revolution in Israel, including promoting legislation, implementing accessibility in organizations according to our model. We have a reputation of creating large-scale change, reaching the right people, and creating impact circuits while being known to be quick in adaptation and fast in reaction when needed. We are known as global leaders of accessibility and inclusion, and forming partnerships that work, including, as Harriet mentioned, being advisors to the UN. The time is right. Remember, This is our chance and your chance to be part of an historic opportunity, stopping the paradigm. Let us join hands and make this better future a reality for us all. Click on the link below, appearing now in the chat, to find out more about this project and join us making our future accessible. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you, Harriet.
This was unbelievable, Michal. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I can only say that the success of these organizations that you've heard and learned about today will breed future success. That's what happens. Success is contagious. And I think you can all agree that the critical work of these particular organizations will inspire all of you to do something going forward. I'm excited to think about a future where people with disabilities have both the physical tools as well as the skills to advocate for themselves and others and to live their best lives. So now we have the opportunity to answer some of your questions. I have one that I'm going to throw out, and then there were two in the chat, and I hope more will come from the audience. The question I propose is, to each of you, is there one anecdote or story, just 30 seconds, that you think highlights the importance of the work your organization is involved with? One brief anecdote, please. Any of you care, any of the panelists care to share?
I'd love to answer, Harriet. A couple of years ago, we had the whole management of the largest supermarket retailer in Israel spend a day with us, trying to navigate through the supermarket as people with disabilities. They were on wheelchairs, blindfolded, earphones to prevent them from hearing, crutches. They were astounded to see how the most simple things in the supermarket, the place they live in, they work in, they know so well, is impossible for them or very, very hard. This experience truly opened their eyes to see that they really need to change their approach in order to accommodate such a large population, as I mentioned before. Now, since then, we have worked with many other service providers, understanding that talking is not enough. The change has to connect to our kishke. We convinced businesses and schools on the importance of experiential activities and creating opportunities to get to know the person behind the disability. We found innovative, out-of-the-box, crazy ways to take this sensitive issue and make people stand in line to experience it. Our methodology had such an impact that the requirement for experiential training became law in Israel, the only country in the world where annual training for service providers and once at least going through experiential training is mandatory by law. This is a change we see every day.
That was excellent. Amir or Efrat?
I'll be happy to share with you a story. I know that we saw together a movie about Moshe, but I will want to introduce you also to many. It's a story on one person, but I think it has a significant impact on the way we all look at technology solutions. Manny is 26 and he lives in a group home for people with cognitive disabilities. Manny always wanted to be able to visit his sister. He wishes he was able to make this trip to her, but while he is unable to function independently in certain aspects of daily life, his sister really wants him to come to her too. Through the Smart Home program, Manny received a smartwatch with GPS chip that allows him to make emergency calls to his sister and his staff in the group home. What does it mean for Manny? Manny learned how to take the bus himself and become more independent, giving a boost to his self-esteem and confidence. In turn, his loved ones and caregivers are able to feel comfortable with the new level of independence because they know they can always reach him. Now, this story was told Manny. We introduced Manny to our governmental partners, and now we're together thinking about a new way to change the system so all people with disabilities in Israel can buy technology solutions to be more independent. Just starting from a little story like many and impact all people with disabilities in Israel.
Thank you.
I'll just add a short story of my own. What comes to mind is working with the leadership groups during COVID-19, during all this crisis. One of our groups is called the Health Forum. There are 20 participants across all disabilities in that group. And they have been very, very active, of course, over the past year, talking to people with disabilities throughout Israel and talking to government throughout the crisis in order to ensure accessibility of all the different testing sites and now the vaccination sites, and also making sure that all the regulations are clear and accessible to all people with disabilities. They've had work 24/7 over the past year.
Thank you very much. So one patient viewer asked, what does the disabled cohort mean? And that just refers to a group of people who have disabilities, as opposed to using language that says the disabled community, because I think it's more reflective of people as individuals when we say cohort. And another panelist asked, please address the safety of the internet and how it impacts people with disabilities. It's a dangerous place and they are quite vulnerable to the internet. Would somebody like to respond to that question?
I could say, first of all, that in many issues, it's education that works, and it's the same for people with disabilities and without disabilities. One of the things that we are working hard on, and I'm sure that Michal and Efrat are also concerned about this, is the accessibility of the internet. Because in order to be well educated, you also have to have equal access. And we're currently working with startups in Israel, including one Equally, in order to ensure that there are tools that will make the internet accessible for everyone.
And I will just add to Amir that it's about the internet being accessible, but also about digital literacy. I think that we all know, and I spoke it before, that today digital literacy is a key factor to participate in all areas of life for all of us, and of course for people with disabilities. So when we're talking about the internet, the first thing is that we have to make sure that people with disabilities knows how to use these digital platforms, how to use the internet. And some of it, as Amir said, is just to also teach and to train what is safe and what is not safe.
Thank you. And that's certainly true for everyone, whether you have a disability or not. We all need to know how to navigate and not get into troubles with some of the unsavory information that one can glean from those platforms. Another question. As an American advocate, I'm so disheartened that the US still has not ratified the CRPD, Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. I hope the Senate can prioritize that soon. Well, I can say as an American advocate that I certainly agree with you. So thank you for raising that. Another person wrote, I was amazed at the app that was shown by Israel Unlimited and what a game changer that is for those with traumatic brain injuries and possibly for others. And all the panelists offered so much wonderful information. So thank you for that comment. Another question is, what do you think is the biggest misconceptions that Israelis have about people with disabilities?
Good question. If I might step in, you know what, I think that various disabilities will tell you various answers, but the way I see it, I see the extremes. Those who are looking at people with disabilities like children and, you know, very paternalistic, they need the help, we know best what is good for them. And on the other hand, the ones who are coming to a person in a wheelchair and saying, "You're so amazing. This is so incredible." And all he did was get off his car and come to the, driveway. They're looking at the extremes of either people who need help and need people to take care of them, or people who are like Superman for something that is not really necessarily right. I hope that we'll come to a time that you see a person with disability, you won't look at him not as somebody who needs help and not as a Superman, just a human being. He might be an amazing human being, but he might be an annoying one and a regular one and whatever. This is something that we're really, really trying to change.
I agree with you, Michal, and I'll just add that people with disabilities and people without disabilities, we're people. We all have the same dreams. We all want families. We all want a place to work. We all want to be loved and to love someone else. And when we are all talking, we just have to really believe that this is true. I hope that in a few years from now, we will not have to say it anymore. We'll just do it.
If I could just add another word, I agree that with every disability, you'll have different misconceptions. And I don't know if what I'm about to say is the most common misconception, but it's definitely one that hurts me the most when I hear about it. It's a misconception that people with disabilities cannot create their own families and raise them just like anybody else. And I think that's a very severe one that we have to deal with on a daily basis and make sure that that changes. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right. Connectivity with other people, spouses, significant others, friends is so critical, and the ability to, maintain a family and give the opportunity. You're right. We have one viewer who commented about the Israel Sports Center for the Disabled in Ramat Gan being a world leader in sports rehab for people with physical disabilities and hosted the 1968 Paralympics. Can each of you speak to how your organization is leading the world with regard to access, not just in Israel, but the impact beyond the borders?
We just jump in. I hear silence, so I'm taking. The truth is, this is something that I feel very strong about and proud about. And today is a day where an international conference in Vienna, in the UN building in Vienna, just opened. And this was actually the first conference I attended 7 years ago internationally. I came to learn and hear from the world, but I immediately understood how much we, Access Israel and Israel, have to share. And this basically changed my whole perception of things. And since then, we have been coming back to that conference every single year, and with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and independently reaching countries all over the world and sharing the Access Israel methodology, models, trainings, etc. And the amazing thing, and here I'll give you a little secret, even before the Abraham Accords, countries that we are not in contact with, connections were made. And because we are talking about something that is borderless, something that everybody goes through, statistics are global. And the idea is that even now with COVID, we understood that we have to share and we have to be together. And Access Israel basically is centering an international network of, as I said, more than 80 countries, people from all over, developing and developed countries, and we can all share and we can all learn. And the beauty of it is today Israel is considered one of the leaders, and we are in the center of this. So this is something we are very proud of and very happy that it happens.
I agree, Michal. Michal talked about the Zero Project. So we are a part of the Zero Project also every year, and I'm very proud of it. And I'll also say that JDC is a global organization. We work with other regions in all over the world, in above 70 countries in the world, in the former Soviet Union, in Europe, and in other areas to share our methods and knowledge and programs. So this is, even if I'm talking inside JDC, and if I want to share what we're doing also outside JDC, so I have to say that we have, well, not during the last year, but we have missions and we travel around the world to learn and to study and to share our knowledge. We bring models from the world to Israel, and we share models from Israel to the world, how to make things, how to make new models that will help to improve the quality of life of people with disabilities. And I think that today, when we're talking about disabilities, during the corona, people with disabilities were not in the middle, there was not enough awareness, but the organizations that work with and for people with disabilities, we joined together. And I think that it's a topic that we have to work together, so people will have, that this subject will have enough awareness, that we will be able to promote the subject together. And I think that we're doing it these days. Even today, now, this session together, I think it's something that we have to be very proud of.
And if I could just close by saying, Beit Izzi is, we're a startup nonprofit, and we're always looking to see how we can scale whatever we're doing. And if I just look at the Leadership Center as an example, we're creating a model that can be replicable around the world. And we're right now in the midst of a series of 3 webinars in cooperation with Harvard in order to introduce the model to as many people. And in the last one, which was yesterday evening, there were participants from 25 countries. And we're also working together. We have many, many initiatives. I'll just give one more. We're working together with Florida International University in order to promote the training we do for professionals in special therapeutic models that we've developed. So our eye is always open to opportunities where we can take the knowledge that we've created in Israel and spread it around the globe as much as possible.
Well, thank you very much. And we've really used up all our time. So today, as a recap, we began with the story of hearing and embracing every voice in a community. And today we've learned a few of the initiatives Israeli organizations are creating to amplify those voices that may have been left unheard in the past. Most encouraging, these organizations are looking forward and thinking about how to create systems, programming, and technology now that will best serve the needs of the future. Israel is uniquely positioned to take this forward-thinking view. Efrat mentioned that there are close to 20% of Israelis who have some sort of disability. And this is where the great diversity of Israel works to its advantage, because the more creativity and diversity of thought that we can funnel into the creation of assistive technologies and programming, the more we can run the gamut of needs and solutions, and we can all benefit. That collective work and acknowledgement of the need go a long way toward ensuring that every voice and every note on the flute is heard. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you take a look at all of the events happening this month and join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Supporting and Including Youth with Disabilities, hosted by the Foundation for Jewish Camp and Prisma. Have a great rest of your day.
Sometimes I lay under the moon, I thank God I'm breathing, and I pray, don't take me soon, cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will pray. One day blood-drenched pavement. Keep on moving though the water's